Okay, Shalom Akim, Kal Halalim La Yahaba Hashem Yahshai Bahashem Rahakudash, and double honors to the great Muslim apostles. Thali Yahshai for the strength in order to make this video, and the Yaratazah that you find it edifying, which means it helps to build you up, and also exhorting, which means encouraging as well. So Yaratazah, this would probably be a quick hitter. It's one of those exhortation type of videos. So, as I named it, pray for a spirit. Pray for an understanding spirit, man. Either pray for a spirit of understanding or pray for an understanding spirit. But the point is to be able to have a understanding, within yourself, to be able to discern, all right, when to do something, when not to do something. Of course, I'm making this video based on a recent experience, so really, it's for myself as I'm reasoning with the scriptures, man. So. Of course, sometimes even when dealing with the youthful vessel, you make certain mistakes, man. So of course, through Yahweh Shem Yahushai, I learned my lesson, and of course, Yaratazah, do better next time, man. So this is Proverbs 3 and verse 5. It says, "Trust in the Lord Yahweh Shem Yahushai with all thine heart, and lean not unto thine own understanding." And of course, when it says trust in Yahweh Shem Shai with all thine heart, that's really actually the key part where it says lean not unto thine own understanding. In order to get real understanding, we're supposed to navigate through the scriptures, we're supposed to reason through the scriptures, man. So of course, as you reason with the scriptures, for example, you come across a certain situations, Yaratazah through her Hakodash, a certain precepts that will come into your mind to apply for that certain situation. So that you don't get you don't make a mistake that you ought not to make a mistake for. So as it says here, Proverbs 3 and 5, trust in the Lord Yahweh Shem Yahushai with all thine heart, and lean not unto thine own understanding. Because you could think that a certain way would be the right way, but then you realize after on that no, it was actually the wrong way, and then the Most High Yahweh Shem Yahushai would then reveal that to you. And then you realize, okay, if I had reasoned with the scriptures, then it would have been a better scenario. So that's Proverbs 3 and 5. Let's get another one. Most of the precepts are in Proverbs anyway. So Proverbs 4 and verse 5. It says, "Get wisdom and get understanding, forget it not, neither decline from the words of my mouth." So of course that shows you right there that we get understanding through these scriptures, man. I'm going to get Psalms as well. I often mention this, but, I don't mind mentioning it again because it's the words of Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai. So Psalms, hold on. And of course, this video is to whomever, it applies for as well. As I said, this is for myself. But, if any brother needs that spiritual understanding, and when I say to pray for a spirit of understanding or pray for an understanding spirit, it's just to have that discernment of how to act, when you're outside, and also when to apply, those precepts as well. Because certain situations, you got to apply specific precepts, man. Certain... let me read this. So Psalms 119 and 4, "Thou hast commanded us to keep thy precepts diligently." So of course with careful and persistent effort, that's what diligence means. So where it says thou hast commanded us to keep thy precepts diligently, the point is it's for our own well-being. That's why the Most High said, he says thou hast commanded us to keep thy precepts diligently, man. So the point is we're supposed to meditate upon these precepts, again meaning think about the precepts, so that when we then come across these scenarios, it will be natural to us to apply what Yahweh Shem Shai has given us when we come across those certain situations. So let's get Proverbs 4 and 5 again. "Get wisdom, get understanding, forget it not, neither decline from the words of my mouth." So you see, that's why that goes hand in hand with Psalms 119 and 4. It says, "Neither decline from the words of my mouth," which means we're supposed to be always, into the scriptures and of course absorbing the precept so that we can apply it in our own lives as well, because it will help us. It's genuinely for our well-being. Yeah, so get wisdom, get understanding, forget it not, which means it's important to retain the scriptures as well for application. Neither decline from the words of my mouth. Right, so that's the point there. Let me get another one here too. It's looking like a quick hit with this one. Proverbs. Yeah, so this is Proverbs 14 and 29. It says, "He that is slow to wrath, it is of great understanding, but he that is hasty of spirit exalteth folly." And of course, this is really something that I got to work on. That's why I said, I named the video "Pray for Understanding Spirit," man. Not every time is an aggressive tone required to address a certain situation. So that's really the point right there. It says, "He that is slow to wrath is of great understanding." So of course, when a certain scenario comes where maybe a demon could be poking a certain individual, of course I'm talking about myself here, a demon trying to trigger me, some guy out there, sometimes it's just better to just again, not sometimes, all the time, it's always good to apply the precepts, man. For example, the precept of a soft answer turneth away wrath, which is similar to here as well, where it says, "He that is slow to wrath is of great understanding," because you then realize, is it really worth emitting that amount of energy just for low level demon, or for just it's really a waste of energy. That's what it is. He that's slow to wrath is of great understanding, because you realize, okay, if you got the understanding of the scriptures and you apply it, you realize that there's really no need to get angry for a minuscule situation, a small situation. So just every brother has their learning process. For me, this is just a learning process for me, a lesson that I got to learn. Sometimes that youthful anger can be quite prominent, so of course it has to be stabilized. So Proverbs 14 verse 29 once more: "He that is slow to wrath is of great understanding, but he that is hasty of spirit exalteth folly." So sometimes even just taking a pause, a breather. Again, this is really for myself and whoever it would apply for, but again, mainly me, because I'm the one who, when you go through certain situations, you start to reason with the scriptures and you realize, your wrongdoings, and you pray to Yahweh Shem Yahshua Salakia for my folly, Salakia for having a lack of self-control there. Then, Yaratazar, that, we gain the mercy of Yahweh Shem Yahshua, and then we move on. We learn the lesson, and Yaratazar, we apply it. Let's say if the scenario had a round 2, but we act more in wisdom. I act more in wisdom, so as every brother should act more in wisdom, which is based upon these scriptures. So I was gonna get something. Hold on, let me get it here. So this is Proverbs 15:1. "A soft answer turneth away wrath, but grievous words stir up anger." Painful words. In fact, let me read that in the NLT as well. Painful words stir up anger, or words that are delivered in a harsh tone as well. So this is Proverbs 15:1 in the NLT, New Living Translation. It says, "A gentle answer deflects anger, but harsh words make tempers flare." You see, so each and every one of us in this truth, there's something of which we all need to work on. Of course, that was something that I need to work on. So that's really it. Pray, you fast to Yahweh Shem Yahshua, and Yaratazar, he'll direct your ways, man. That's really the point. All right, let me get this now. Hold on. Sometimes just gotta take a breather. You know, when you're on the verge of saying something you're not supposed to say, or acting out something that you're not supposed to act out. You know, just gotta take a breather, reason with the scriptures. You know, remain calm and let Yahweh Shem Yahshai direct your path, man. Which really He does it nevertheless of our decisions. All right, so this is Proverbs 13. I'll start from verse 14. The law of the wise is a fountain of life, to depart from the snares of death, the traps of death, man. So of course, the law of the wise being the scriptures, the understanding of the scriptures, that helps prevent us from death, man, quite literally, and of course spiritually as well. Because right now we're alive, considering the fact that we have the understanding through Ruach HaKodesh, of these scriptures. So of course, in order to avoid those traps, we've got to keep the law of the wise, which is the scriptural understanding that we've been blessed with. So it says in verse 15, Proverbs 13 and 15, good understanding giveth favor, but the way of transgressors is hard. You see, so of course that talks about understanding. It says good understanding, again, what's good understanding? Really reasoning through the scriptures. You apply the precepts. Giveth favor, and then it's not just favor of really, we have the favor of Yahweh Shem Yahshai, but it's also in men's eyes as well. You also gain the favor of men when you apply these scriptures, man. What does it say? Let me see if I can get this. So hold on. This is Proverbs, I'm going to read it here. This is Proverbs 16 and 7. It says, when a man's ways please the Lord Yahweh, He maketh even his enemies to be at peace with him. You see, so of course, when our ways please Yahweh, it also shows that the man is of a high level of understanding. So therefore, being in that state of understanding, Yahweh Shem Yahshai will make sure that we're at peace with our enemies as well, which is really those of the world. We know predominantly it's Edomites, and all these are heathen nations, but even those of whom are our foes, within the scriptures, Matthew 10, those are also our enemies too, because they're against us in this truth. But we're also at peace with them because of Yahweh Shem Yahshai, who has favor to us. Because as I read here, Proverbs 13 and 15, good understanding giveth favor, but the way of transgressors is hard. So yeah, the point is that in order to get the favor of Yahweh Shem Yahshai, to get favor from men, it's good to have an understanding spirit. So praying for that understanding spirit, a discerning spirit, to know how to act, and how to really present yourself, as you're navigating this world, so that you're at peace, with your enemies, man, and also, look like a fool. So that's Proverbs 13 and 15. I'll read verse 16 as well. So every prudent man dealeth with knowledge, but a fool layeth open his folly. So of course, a prudent man is one who has that power of foresight, to be able to see things before they happen. But just to get more clarity, I'm gonna research the definition here as well. To define prudent. So Google definition of prudent: acting with or showing care and thought for the future. And it says in the synonyms, wise, well judged, judicious. Those are some words right there. So again, the definition of prudent: acting or showing care and thoughts for the future. So you're cautious of the future as well. And of course, that also requires a level of understanding too. Because if you had the reasoning of applying the precepts, then of course right, this will then produce this type of scenario where, for example, a soft answer turneth away wrath. And after you realize that, okay, let me apply that. Then that will be the consequence. You literally have a peaceful enemy. So man, as it says, every prudent man, one who has a caution or foresight for the future, dealeth with knowledge, man. This knowledge is talking about the knowledge of the scriptures, because as we acquire this knowledge of the scriptures, we're able to apply it to our lives, and it just makes our lives better anyways. And we gain the favor of Yahweh Shem Yahushua because we are being obedient children unto Yahweh Shem Yahushua. Now, of course, to bring the balance, yes, we are in the flesh, we make mistakes, hence why I said, as I named the video, pray for understanding spirit. So that, whenever we do fall, to get back up and we do better next time. So let me get a few more precepts, I'm gonna wrap it up. Alright, Proverbs. Hold on. So I'll get this precept, I'm gonna close the video. Shouldn't be too long, the point is easy to comprehend. So Proverbs 8, hold on, 16. Right, let me go back a bit. So this is Proverbs 8 and verse 5. O ye simple, understand wisdom, and ye fools, be ye of an understanding heart. So of course that shows you that having an understanding spirit is key in this truth, because if you ain't got understanding, you won't be able to discern, okay, what action would be right to take at this very moment in time, whatever situation that you may be in. So that's why praying for an understanding spirit is key. So I'll read it one more time and I'll close out. So Proverbs 8 and 5. O ye simple, understand wisdom, the wisdom of the scriptures, and ye fools, be ye of an understanding heart. So of course, as we get into these scriptures, and not just get into them in terms of just absorbing them, as we apply them in our lives, it will just help us in the navigation of our trials and tribulation. Well, trials, and yes, tribulation really means great suffering, because that's going to happen in Jacob's trouble as well as Asakim that will be in prison. For those of us that will be in prison, some of us as pilgrims. But in that time to come, understanding will be key, so that you know what to do in that time as well, which requires faith as well within these scriptures. So I'll end it off there. Yaratazar, as I said, quick hit, even though it's going about almost 20 minutes now, but Yaratazar, that I found it edifying. And pray for understanding spirit, man. We need it. We need Yahweh Shem Yahushua to give us understanding in these times, man. So Shalom. I'm going to close out. Kal Halalim La Yahweh Shem Yahushua Bashem Hakudash. And double honors to the great Muslim apostles. Yaratazar, they found it exhorting, more so encouraging to keep praying for that spirit of understanding. Shalom.